guys, and welcome back to this week's video. This week I'm actually not making a card. I want to go and have a couple of these videos in between cards where I kind of explain some tips and some tools, kind of explaining more on what they do. So this week I'm planning on showing the differences between the embossing tools. So the main reason why you would want to go and use tools like these is to go and cut down on any kind of static cling. And it's very important to go and use one, especially when you're trying to use a color, because in transparent it's not really that big of a deal because it'll melt clear. But when you have something like when we have black paper on white embossing powder, you can go and see the extra specks on there, and so it's just an extra precautionary step to go and make sure that it has a cleaner image when you go and heat it up. I have all right here, all the tools that you need to go and emboss, and I'm going to be showing it with white embossing powder on black paper so you can kind of see really the difference in the details of when you go and use the different tools, and see if there is actually a difference when you go and stamp without an embossing tool, or if when you do use it. So what we're going to do is we're going to stamp one without using anything and just seeing how it stamps normally. One using a dryer sheet, and then the embossing buddy, and then the embossing tool from EK Success. So we're just going to go and stamp it out and see if there is any difference. We're going to be using this stamp here, and it's from Inka Dinka Do. I chose this one so then, you know, it'll kind of show you how it would do with words, how it does with just big block images, but also, you know, focus on the detail to go and see if there is any difference when you do use those tools. Okay, so I'm going to go and ink up our stamp. Okay, right there. Okay. And then taking our white embossing powder. Okay, so here is our one where we didn't prep it at all. So I'm just going to label that without. So there's our first one. With this piece of paper, we're going to go and be using the dryer sheet to go and try and cut down on the static cling. So just rub that all over. Okay. Then we're going to ink up our stamp again. Here's our dryer sheet one. So let's go and put some embossing powder on there. And this one is our dryer sheet. Okay, up next is our embossing buddy. Okay. Okay, so this is the embossing buddy. And then the last one is going to be the embossing tool from EK Success. Also goes on where you can, a little bit heavy where you can see the powder, but just like the embossing buddy, I just go with like a really damp or a really lightly damp cloth, and you know, it just comes right off. One good thing that I do like about this one is that if you just have a small area, you can just, it has such a small application area that, you know, you can do really small areas. You don't have to cover the whole page. But, you know, and vice versa, if you have to cover the whole page, then it takes a little bit longer. Okay, and then this is the EK Success tool. Okay, so here are all 4 of the stamped images, and I'm going to go and show you up close on each one of them. So here is the first one that we did without any kind of embossing tool used. So you can see up here that there's a lot of extra powder that was on here, and this is probably like really fine that you couldn't even tell that was on there, just a light powder. So you know, the image looks like it is kind of dusty and it has like this shadow on it. So this is the one without. So up next is the dryer sheet. If you compare it to the one without, you can see that there's less of that dust around the corners. There's some over here. But the image is a lot cleaner. Up next is the Embossing Buddy one, and in this one, you can see that there is barely any specks on here. Here is the EK Success one, and just like the Embossing Buddy, it is a very crisp image, barely any specks on it. There is still a few, and I don't think that you could ever go and have a totally clean image without any kind of specks on it, because while they are there to go and help eliminate static cling, they're not going to get rid of it all. So, I mean, you can't go and expect it to go and be perfect, but this is pretty clean. Both the Embossing Buddy and the EK Success tool are pretty clean. I mean, I would go and say that the EK Success tool is a little bit cleaner, but I think that it's probably because I put on a lot of powder. You could see it on there. So I bet if you kind of went a little bit more heavy-handed on the Embossing Buddy, you could probably get the same results. Let me just show you the difference between the EK Success tool and then the original, or without, so you can see the difference on there. So here are all 4 of our results from the test that we just did, and even just the dryer sheet did amazing without, or compared to the one that we used without any kind of tool. So, you know, if you're embossing, definitely use one of these 3 tools, the dryer sheet and Embossing Buddy, or the EK Success tool, and I mean, it'll be worlds different than if you didn't. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.
Each morning I look over to find you. Your eyes closed, head on the pillow, soft